reporter Manish Jha is on the ground there at the Rafah crossing, and he's kind of, tried to gauge the mood, the josh among the IDF soldiers. Let's listen in.
ऑपरेशन से ठीक पहले अपना जोश बढ़ाते हुए एक दूसरे का सैनिकों को देखिए जो इस वक्त ऑपरेशन से पहले किस तरह जोश में और समझिए कि वो हमास को क्या मैसेज दे रहे हैं। वो साफ तौर पर ये कह रहे हैं कि वो तैयार हैं उस लड़ाई के लिए जो इजराइल के लिए, इजराइल के अस्तित्व के लिए सबसे बड़ी और खतरनाक लड़ाई हो सकती है। और उसके लिए इस वक्त आप देखिए, जब कहते हैं आप कि हाउ इज द जोश, तो ये देखिए जो जोश इनका इस वक्त आपको दिखाई दे रहा है। ये सोल्जर्स जो इस जगह पर मौजूद हैं और उनके बीच आपने देखा कि किस तरीके से ये सब एक दूसरे के साथ अपना मनोबल बढ़ाते हुए और एक दूसरे को सपोर्ट करते हुए, क्योंकि इन्हें पता है कि ये किस असाइनमेंट पर जा रहे हैं और वो असाइनमेंट कितना डेंजरस होगा। सो आपने इनके जोश और जज्बे को देखा और इसी जज्बे के साथ ये ग्राउंड ऑपरेशन के लिए आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। और इन्हीं लोगों को आगे जाकर गाजा स्ट्रिप में सुरंगों के भीतर से घुस कर हमास के आतंकियों को सफाया करना है। इन्हीं लोगों को, उन बंधकों की रिहाई करनी है। इन्हीं लोगों को जाकर अपने दुश्मनों के बीच में से जाकर अपने इजरायली लोगों को छुड़ा कर लाना है। और उससे पहले ये लोग एक दूसरे का मनोबल बढ़ाते हुए यहाँ पर ठीक बॉर्डर के पास मौजूद हैं, जहाँ से हम आपको दिखाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इनके जोश को, इनके जज्बे को, ताकि आप देख सकें और समझ सकें कि अभी फिलहाल इजराइल के बॉर्डर की स्थिति क्या है। बॉर्डर पर अलग अलग हिस्सों में जाते हुए TV9 की टीम को एक ऐसी लोकेशन पर आने का मौका मिला है जहां पर कि सैकड़ों की संख्या में हम सोल्जर्स को भी देख रहे हैं। और यहां पर कुछ जो संस्थाएं हैं वो यहाँ पर खाने का और दूसरी जो चीज़ें हैं वो इकट्ठा कर रही है। हाय सर, so I am Manish Jha from TV9. I am coming from India.
Nice to meet
so what is going on here?
Actually, what's happening here is going on very fast. We started last Sunday, a group of 6 people. We made 300 dishes. We bring our own money to start to do something good for the army. By Monday, we were 12 people, and we made about 600 dishes.
Can you show us how you guys are doing?
Of course, and by Thursday, we became a group of 500 people, making 10,000 dishes a day, only for the soldier who fight. Let's see.
और मैं आपको बता दूं कि सिक्योरिटी की वजह से हम लोग लोकेशन नहीं दिखा रहे हैं कि हम कहां पर हैं, ये नहीं बता रहे हैं। यहाँ पर जो दर्जनों की नहीं बल्कि सैकड़ों की संख्या में जो सोल्जर्स हैं उनको किस तरह से वो खाना प्रोवाइड करा रहे हैं और फिर ये लोग खाने के पैकेट सब लेकर और फिर यहाँ से वो आगे बढ़ते हैं, क्योंकि ठीक यहाँ से कुछ दूरी पर स्थित जो लोग हैं जिनको युद्ध में यहाँ पर डिप्लॉय किया गया है, उन सबको खाना मिल सके उसके लिए। ये एक ऐसी जगह है क्योंकि जंग के दौरान आपको सब कुछ चाहिए, आपको हथियार चाहिए, आपको तमाम तरह के रसद सामग्री चाहिए, लेकिन साथ ही साथ आपको खाने पीने की चीज़ें भी चाहिए, क्योंकि किसी को नहीं पता कि ये जंग कितनी लंबी चलने वाली है। और वैसी स्थिति में जब आप जंग के दरमियान देखते हैं कि किस तरह से आम लोग, आम इजरायली, तमाम जो इजरायली लोगों का संगठन है वो किस तरह से आगे बढ़कर अपने सैनिकों की मदद कर रहा है, क्योंकि उन्हें पता है कि जो लोग इस वक्त मातृभूमि की रक्षा के लिए आए हैं उनको वो इसी रूप में शायद मदद कर सकते हैं। What's your good name?
Alma. We're both Alma.
Okay. So would you like to say something? What you guys are doing?
We're helping and making food for the soldiers.
Okay.
And hope for the best for Israel. And yes.
तो आप इस वक्त देखिए एक तरफ अलग एज ग्रुप के लोग हैं, अलग अलग एज ग्रुप के लोग इस वक्त यहाँ पर मौजूद होकर अपने सैनिकों की मदद कर रहे हैं। और वो मदद करने के लिए उन्हें लग रहा है कि अगर वो कुछ नहीं तो खाना पीना ही प्रोवाइड करके मदद कर सके। क्या है इजराइल की तैयारी, कितना है इजराइल के लोगों में जोश, क्योंकि उन्हें पता है कि ये उनकी वो लड़ाई है जिसके लिए हर इजरायली को आगे आना होगा। हर इजरायली हर रूप में, किसी के हाथ में हथियार है तो कोई बॉर्डर पर जा रहा है तो कोई बॉर्डर पर जाने वाले लोगों को खाना और दूसरी चीज़ें मुहैया करा रहा है, ताकि वो इस देश की रक्षा के लिए, अपने तमाम इजरायली लोगों की रक्षा के लिए पूरी ताकत के साथ लड़ सके। इस वक्त TV9 की टीम आपको वो दिखाने की कोशिश कर रही है कि देखिए किस तरह से आम इजरायली और सैनिक एक दूसरे के साथ हैं। यहाँ पर लोग गाना गा के भी मनोबल भी बढ़ाते हैं, खाना पीना भी दे रहे हैं और यहाँ से अपने सैनिकों को विदा करते हैं फ्रंट लाइन पर जाने के लिए, इस उम्मीद के साथ कि अगले वक्त खाना खाने के लिए दोबारा से सोल्जर्स यहाँ पर पहुँच सके। तो यहाँ पर एक आराम करने की भी जगह है और साथ ही साथ यहाँ पर देखिए सबके लिए ये अस्तित्व की लड़ाई है और इस बात को समझते हुए हर कोई अपने अपने हिसाब से इसे कंट्रीब्यूट करने में लगा है ताकि इजराइल जो अपना इतिहास रहा है उसी इतिहास को दोहराते हुए एक बार फिर इस मुश्किल की घड़ी में तमाम संकटों का सामना करके आगे बढ़ सके।
So there, as you see it, the Josh seems to be very high among the IDF, as you just mentioned, and they're raring to go. But Aditya, do you think there is going to be a ground invasion, or is it, as we are saying, is it on pause right now?
Currently, it's on pause due to multiple factors. One, of course, being that Biden is going to visit Israel on Wednesday.
Right.
And once that visit happens, only after that we'll see any troop movement or ground invasion in Gaza. We also have been seeing over the last 5 days a lot of diplomacy at play. We've seen Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, visiting Israel, but also visiting UAE, Saudi, and also holding discussion with the Egyptian president. So there is a humanitarian corridor that is being planned by the United States. And this is the kind of a diplomacy that US plays. On one hand, completely supporting Israel with military and saying that Israel has the right to defend and it will support its targeting of Hamas. On the other hand, also creating a humanitarian corridor in Gaza, because obviously there would be pressure from the Arab Street that these 23 lakh people need to be evacuated from the Rafah crossing. There are a lot of host of trucks that are waiting there as well. Let's remember there's a food, water and fuel crisis that is developing in Gaza. Apart from that, the UN came out with a statement that was deleted later, which said that Hamas had taken over their medical supplies, food, fuel, and a lot of other things. So there's a crisis, there's a chaos out there on the streets of Gaza. There were reports that the Hamas was also not allowing a lot of civilians to leave because obviously often they use civilians as human shields as well. But as of now, it's a tricky situation because it will take a few days to evacuate a lot of people from there, and that's what the US is ensuring. And I feel that immediately after Biden visit, it may not begin. The airstrikes might begin, which are on hold, but perhaps in the next 5 to 6 days, we might see a ground invasion.
There would be a ground invasion, you're saying that, and this would be in the manner that we were speaking, that soldiers would go in and they would hold ground. But the US, Aditya, very clearly, President Biden has told the Israelis that you're not to go in and hold territory again, not to reoccupy Gaza again. So how does that change?
That's the catch-22 really, isn't it? Because once the population really moves out, at least the majority of it, and already Egypt and other countries in the neighborhood have said that we are not going to take refugees. So if the people leave into Egypt, where are they going to go? They are clearly nowhere people. Are they actually going to enter West Bank or look for any other area for refuge? So as of now, that's a crisis unfolding. Apart from that, Israel is very clear. They're going to destroy Hamas completely from Gaza and ensure that. So in the next few weeks, we are going to witness that. It won't be perhaps a 48-hour or a 72-hour operation. It's going to be a long operation. And perhaps there will be an occupation. But how long? That's not clear yet.
But you, Gen Pannu, you were earlier on, you were explaining this scenario that, and it kind of brought to mind what Mao Zedong said about guerrillas, that they operate as fish among water. And you seem to indicate that this process would be filtering out the people from the terrorists. How long does this operation that you spoke of, how long will it take actually to execute?
I suppose one way of doing it is if you look at the shape of Gaza Strip, north-south. In a way, I think Israelis have already warned the civilians to move out to the south. What they're indicating is that the population which needs to save itself, and in any case, as we were talking about, that the supplies are coming from the south, from the Egypt side. If you want food, water, survival, move south. But if you want to remain there, be prepared for the consequences of staying back. So I suppose they will try to trigger this entire mobilization of population from north to south. Because the Hamas, it seems, is more headquartered and located towards the north. Gaza city is like old Delhi. Now imagine if you have to fight through the built-up area, along with the tunnels, it is going to be very, very complex operation.
That's literally two cities, right? There's a city underground and there's a city above it.
Imagine, and then how do you communicate? The radios won't work.
Yeah. Oh, yes, of course.
Because signals, won't travel.
Right.
Once you start sending troops inside, you don't know where they have taken a bent and where either they've got lost or eliminated. It is not easy to survive a subterranean battle in a protracted manner.
Right.
So those who have actually stored their ammunition, their rations, and are pitched, to fight a battle there, would find it easy to operate because they know when to come up, breathe, where, and then go inside and fight. So I think that will go in favor of Hamas initially.
Right.
But I suppose once the movement of population happens to say the innocent civilians move out, the children move out, so they would assume that anybody who's left behind is a warrior. And I suppose that is where large plastering can start at both levels, the upper and the subterranean level.
But then wouldn't Hamas, take their human shields with them and kind of move south? I was just reminded of what the LTT did, if you remember, almost 15 years ago in 2009, when they took the entire civilian population with them and used them as a kind of human shield when the Sri Lankan forces were advancing. Do you think something like that could actually unfold here as well? Or they're safe underground?
No, you see, if the Hamas was to mix around with the civilian population and move southwards, I would assume that Israelis have sufficient information on who's Hamas, who's not Hamas.
Right.
And I suppose they would want to separate these two if they put a filter there.
Right.
How they put a filter there, it's really there are many ways of doing it. But if they put a filter there that let the innocents move down south and have access to water and other amenities of surviving, but those who are left behind, I suppose again they will segment that portion and try to separate Hamas from hostages and from the innocents. Very complicated.
Right.
Fighting wise, technology will be tried at its best. I think innovation is going to be tried at its best, but it is going to be very messy. And as Aditya is saying, it's a catch-22 situation.
Right.
Sometimes you have to lose to gain, and sometimes you have to gain to lose. So I really don't know. The discretion is going to be of the soldiers, the commanders on ground, the politicians who are going to take this call. I think these are challenges after challenges. But I suppose when you go to war, you have to pay the cost of going to war.
Right.